confusion and frustration plaguing the Marshall Fire recovery.
This is a suburban community that was just ravaged. So the scope of this is it's a daunting program.
Tonight we're taking a closer look at what's tying up rebuilding efforts.
A scathing review leaves a metro area school district facing an uncertain future.
This is not an independent, objective report. We can prove that because a lot of it is based off of lies.
The action a new report is recommending for Adams 14 and what the district is telling Denver 7.
Fed up with her HOA.
I'm leaving. As you can see, I'm packing up some of my beloved things, and I've got most of it already in storage.
A Colorado woman moving out of what was supposed to be her forever home. How she says her HOA failed to hold up its end of the deal.
It's been nearly 11 weeks since the Marshall Fire ignited in Boulder County, burning more than 1,000 homes in just a few hours. Well, 2.5 months later, here we are. The cleanup hasn't even begun, much less the rebuilding.
Denver 7's Sloan Dickey went to Boulder County to hear from city leaders in Louisville and Superior about the frustrating issues holding up the recovery.
It's been a long road for thousands of Louisville and Superior residents as lots like the one you see behind me sit idle. Well, some movement on cleanup may be just around the corner. 75 days after the Marshall Fire ravaged Boulder County, the cleanup for many has yet to begin.
I share those concerns. I think we should have and could have moved quicker.
That could change this week. The cities of Louisville and Superior are expected to pass a joint plan with Boulder County to allow the mass cleanup of hundreds of destroyed homes to begin.
We are where we are right now, 75 days in, and if the schedule sticks, then everything can be removed by the middle of July, and we can start pouring concrete this late summer, which is a critical component for rebuilding.
Critical to lay foundations before next winter sets construction back even further.
And my own personal target is at least 100 homes rebuilt or under construction before the end of the year.
Both cities in the county have faced roadblocks in the cleanup process, including a lawsuit by a group led by former FEMA director Michael Brown, claiming Boulder County broke open records laws.
No one that I have talked to, any of my neighbors who lost their homes, has any really support or sympathy for this lawsuit.
Residents say they are ready to move forward.
What we'd love to see is that the barriers to the debris removal get taken care of.
Louisville is also moving forward with a plan to change the green building codes enacted in 2021 for those impacted by the fires, reverting them back to the previous codes set in 2018. Proponents say it will lower the cost for impacted residents.
People are looking for things that they can control, things that they can do to mitigate their financial liabilities and burdens, so that they can move back home as quickly as possible.
The reforms to the building codes are not set for a vote until early April, but officials say the first priority is the cleanup.
So we need to get that out of here so people can start moving forward. It's really important in this community.
That cleanup has to be approved by both cities and the county before it moves forward, but officials I spoke with are hopeful that could happen in the next few days. In Louisville, Sloan Dickey, Denver 7.
And Boulder County will seek to somewhat resolve that lawsuit over the cleanup contract this Friday. The group that filed it contends the county failed to include the public in how it chose a contractor. But despite requesting a temporary restraining order, insists it has not prevented the county from signing a contract. The county insists it followed the rules and that the group lacks legal standing. If a judge grants the group's request, debris removal will likely be delayed. If it's denied, cleanup can begin once a contract is signed.
President Biden now preparing for his first trip to Europe since Russia invaded Ukraine. The president will travel to Belgium next week in a show of unity with NATO leaders.
His goal is to meet in person, face to face with his European counterparts and talk about and assess where we are at this point in the conflict, in the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. We've been incredibly aligned to date. That doesn't happen by accident. The president's a big believer in face-to-face diplomacy, so it's an opportunity to do exactly that.
The visit comes as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky prepares to address the U.S. Congress. That's tomorrow morning. He's expected to repeat his plea for a no-fly zone over his country, a move the U.S. is refusing because it could lead to direct war with Russia. And ABC News will carry a special report when President Zelensky addresses Congress. Coverage expected to begin at 7 a.m. You'll be able to stick with local news, traffic, and weather over on Local 3. Well, a state review panel has essentially concluded that the Adams 14 school district is broken and cannot be repaired without major changes.
Their recommendations include a combination of reorganization, creating a separate board to ensure accountability, or even closing Adams City High School. The report cites a culture that is divisive at best and mentions concerns of fear and retaliation. Now, those are the panel's words, not ours. It goes on to say that leadership has not created systems and structures to lead data-driven changes. It discusses declining enrollment and low performance and says the district has shown it is unwilling to be managed.
Adams 14 says the problem is it was being managed by the wrong people. The district recently parted ways with MGT Consulting, that is a firm hired to correct several years of poor performance. The district also insists it's already added new leadership, so it says this report is slanted and cannot reflect the district as it is today. Well, we asked a spokesperson and the district's attorney why people should believe Adams 14 can turn things around if there had been any reflection as well on what could have been done better.
This is an experienced board. And what the State Board of Education needs to do is they need to wipe the egg off their face by forcing the relationship with MGT and allow this board and allow this superintendent to start turning things around.
I would equate this report to a broken clock that doesn't work. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. There may be some small nuggets to reflect on it, but the rest of those 23 and a half hours, the clock is sending you an inaccurate message that undercuts the credibility of any reflection in it.
The State Board of Education is set to discuss Adams 14's status next month. Now, we asked if they would accept any of the recommendations in this report. We were told not a chance. The recommendations, they say, were not based in fact.
Next week will mark one year since the mass shooting at the Table Mesa King Soopers in Boulder. 10 people were killed when a gunman opened fire in the parking lot and inside the store. Today, King Soopers announced the Table Mesa store, which just reopened last month, will be closed Tuesday in observance of the anniversary. Additionally, all King Soopers and City Market stores will pause for a moment of silence at 2:30 in show of respect and remembrance for the victims. At the Colorado Capitol, lawmakers are considering a plan to send people to mental health treatment instead of prison. Senate Bill 10 calls for offenders to be screened during intake to see if they face issues with mental health or substance abuse. Now, some low-level offenders would receive treatment instead of time behind bars.
Too often in Colorado, people with substance abuse issues and mental health disorders end up in the criminal justice system. This bill is designed to provide treatment rather than punishment. It's designed to get people help rather than incarceration.
This idea comes from a pilot program that's been in place in counties like Boulder. And Boulder County tells Denver 7 their program has seen a 90% success rate.
Free universal pre-K, a step closer tonight to being reality for Colorado families. Today, Governor Polis joined other state leaders to share support for this newly introduced bill, House Bill 1295. That would create a Department of Early Childhood that would oversee a universal preschool program. It would provide 10 free hours of preschool per week for Colorado families. It would streamline the process to access pre-K education, but also save families money.
We are full steam ahead in making universal preschool a reality for all Colorado families. Not only preparing kids for academic and social success, but saving families over $4,000 a year.
We need to be able to provide parents with childcare opportunities that are easy to navigate and that won't break the bank.
The bill will face its first committee test Thursday, and if all goes according to plan, the program could roll out in time for the 2023-24 school year.
The complaints continue to come into contact Denver 7 homeowner associations foreclosing on homes, charging unaffordable fees, failing to do basic maintenance.
Well, tonight, Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen is taking an in-depth look at Colorado's HOA problem.
I bought through the Boulder Affordable Housing Program in 2005.
Kathleen Kriska thought her first home would be her forever home.
I'm leaving. As you can see, I'm packing up some of my beloved things.
Until things went sideways with her HOA at the Steel Yards condo complex in Boulder.
There's a hole in the ceiling.
Yes, good question, Jacqueline.
She took us on a tour of unfinished repairs, crumbling sidewalks, and rotting wood.
There were termites. This is just but one bill for $10,000.
When this former accountant asked for the HOA's financials, she says the documents she finally got were incomplete or infuriating.
They were spending money on holiday lighting, for example.
What I'm hearing you say is that you're paying for HOA dues but not getting the services.
That's correct. Everything that we've been paying for, that we contract for, bush shoveling, ice mitigation, none of it has been happening.
Last year, Kathleen filed this lawsuit against the HOA claiming negligence, and they countersued for defamation. In a statement to Contact Info 7, an HOA attorney denies each of Kathleen's allegations.
Where does she go to make a dispute and have it resolved? In the state of Colorado, the answer is nowhere except a litigious, costly, time-consuming court system.
Stan Harincevich heads up Colorado HOA Forum, a homeowner advocacy group pushing for reform. He says unchecked HOA power especially hurts people who can't afford to fight back in court.
And you know what the legislature has done so far? Nothing.
You shouldn't have to fight against a rigged system.
State Representative Brianna Titone is sponsoring one of several HOA reform bills to limit HOA fees and give homeowners out-of-court options.
It's almost like a dictatorship.
Too late for Kathleen, planning to rent out her condo while still fighting her HOA in court.
It was a very difficult decision to make, and it's been very, very expensive and time-consuming.
For Contact Info 7, I'm Jacqueline Allen.
As Jacqueline mentioned, there are multiple bills dealing with HOAs this legislative session. One would require HOAs to provide reasonable access to common areas and would require them to notify homeowners of any restrictions lasting longer than 72 hours. Another bill in the House would bar HOAs from dictating the use of public right-of-ways.
60s and 70s over eastern Colorado today, but there's snow on the way and sooner than you might think.
You've heard of goat yoga and cat cafes, but what about an alpaca Airbnb?
You know, even if someone gets spit on, everybody's laughing about it. And then, you know, they're like, it's just an experience.
The interesting way one Colorado couple is spending their retirement.
And already making himself at home. The Russell Wilson trade will become official tomorrow. How he's already leaving a positive impression on our community.